everyone. Welcome to Live from Gallifrey. We're here at the Comic Bug in Manhattan Beach, and we're super excited to talk to you about today's episode, which is Rise of the Cybermen.
Yes!
We haven't been introduced to that since this kind of new age of Doctor Who, I believe. Haven't seen them at all, and they're a classic Doctor Who villain.
Well, they definitely are a classic Doctor Who villain, and they come back in many ways and many iterations. If you guys are familiar with the current Doctor Who, then there's a moment with Billy that we all kind of...
He's looking at Doctor Who right now. We're looking at the Cybermen and this kind of like reissue of like their design concept, and I super like it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at just pictures and everything like that, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, God, they've evolved a lot.
They have. I like the little tear ducts on the side.
Yes!
It seem like they got prison tattoos for killing people. I don't know if that's real, but yeah. So I guess when we jump into this episode, it's kind of interesting. Like we said, this is part 1 of 2 episodes that deal with this and the Cybermen. And is this the first episode that we have dealing with a parallel universe, not our normal timeline, then it being altered,
versus
but
actual
specifically
parallel
universe. And this is what they call it, because we know that in this particular universe where the TARDIS kind of falls out of space and breaks or whatever, they're in London, but in this particular London there are Zephyrs flying overhead, and Rose's dad is alive,
and that's
so
immediately.
Pete and Jackie are still together. Kind of still together in this episode.
But immediately, just when that happens, immediately, that's when the Doctor's like, we're in a parallel universe, blah, blah. Rose, don't fall for this, don't fall for this. And they keep telling her that consistently. And she keeps looking at this, like, kind of futuristic billboard. And her dad is like, don't worry, we've got the fix for it, or whatever he says. Keeps saying the phrase over and over and over.
Like he sold his fizzy drinks or whatever it is, one of his concoctions.
Oh, yeah.
And Rose is immediately, I'm going to see him. And the Doctor's like, I told you this the first time that we encountered your father and you tried to save him. It fucks stuff up.
Just
it is
listen
not
to
okay.
me.
It is absolutely like not okay. You're messing with the timelines, and this isn't our universe, so you need to pay particular attention to not jack it up.
And the thing is, he knows her. He knows every time she sees her father, she's not listening to anyone. She's going to immediately go ahead and run for her father. That's what she did when we had that time before, when we got to go ahead and mess up with the timeline. What happened? Yeah. She did exactly that. So it's going to happen again? Yes, it definitely does.
Rose has learned absolutely nothing. She's still the petulant child that she was when we first met her. Doesn't want to listen to the Doctor, even though he's the one taking her on these adventures. And the Doctor is incredibly harsh on other quote-unquote companions, where it's like, you didn't listen to me, you're out. But Rose continually disobeys him, and I don't understand why. Do you think it's because the Doctor actually does love Rose in some romantic capacity?
I think yes, and that's why he tolerates it to that extent. If he didn't love her, ultimately, we know definitely later, spoilers if you guys don't know, when he has a moment to actually give or do something with his clone, instead of destroying it, which you think he would do, what does he do? He gives it to her and lets her sit in this alternate timeline where now she is happy. And her is her dad alive in that timeline? Or that parallel world that she's in?
She got her dad and the Doctor.
She got the dad and the Doctor. She got everything she wanted.
And she still wasn't happy. But yeah, it is one of, so you would say that the Doctor is romantically interested in her, and that's why he gives in. If you want more relationship advice, tune in on Tuesdays for Quest for Player 2, where we talk about this stuff all night long.
That's right.
If you have any questions, feel free to submit them to fanquestions@ths.com.
That's right.
Or that #show.com.
It's that #show.com.
Yes. But and in this episode we also have Mickey, who is the tag-along new companion, and also wants to be like, screw you, Doctor, guess what? I'm going to go visit my gran because she's not alive in my world, and I want to mess with timelines as much as I possibly...
But we had Mickey and Ricky, and that was the dopest part.
And I thought that was kind of funny, because back in Eccleston's time, where he always mistakes Mickey's name and calls him something else.
Now you think about it.
Hey, now we have an actual Ricky in this episode.
And that's the thing. So it's like, now you think about it, and you're wondering, was the Doctor ever wrong when he said that?
Yeah.
Or was he accessing? Because, you look at
like
the schism,
and like timey-wimey. It's like, I thought your name was Ricky. I thought your name was anything but Mickey.
Sorry, no, it's definitely Mickey. And it just makes sense now. Now it's like, oh, okay, I get why the Doctor even did it. The whole thing, it's like, I'm looking through the infinite schism of time. So time is everywhere for me, and it's always happening. Yes. So the thing, that's why he was like, oh, okay, you're Ricky. And we thought it was an insult, but in reality, no. He saw something before any of us did.
It is true. So we have both Rose and Mickey in this situation, and they both decide, screw the rules. We're going to do what we want. We're going to go mess with our family members that we should not. And the Doctor is kind of like, all right. Doesn't matter. And I like how Mickey calls him out. That was one of my favorite parts of this episode, where Mickey's like, what, are you going to stop me? You don't pay attention to me. You don't even want me here. You're definitely going to go after Rose. And he does. And I guess he has to be romantically interested in Rose or have this kind of investment in her.
Yes.
To have to do this. But it's like, Mickey's the boyfriend standing right there.
And that's still the thing where we do this all the time, dissecting the relationship and the interactions that they do actually have.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well, what? At moments where he gets to a point where he realizes, okay, I'm not needed, I am taken for granted.
Yeah.
He does this thing where he'll stand up for himself, but then 10, 20 minutes later, here he is being used, manipulated, and pretty much the butt of a joke, and he has no problem with it. There's no true character development for him when you think about it. You know, it's like, no, the only true character development was in an alternate reality, a parallel universe. That's the only time we actually see him where now, okay, he is something, he's interesting, he becomes someone that's important, part of the rebellion and everything like that. But prior to that,
yeah, Mickey is kind of a useless character, and the Doctor and Rose do say that, but also it's just weird seeing the dynamic between Mickey, the Doctor, and Rose. Rose and Mickey are supposed to be an item in a relationship. Mickey asks the Doctor if he can tag along and be a companion, but it seems like nobody really wants him there, and Mickey doesn't even really want to be there either. He was like, I'm just here because I don't have a lot going on in my life, and
I want to be involved.
You're not going to pay attention to me anyway, so I get to go gallivanting on my own, and hopefully things will work out. But it's weird, especially since Rose seems to know that the Doctor has her back and will follow her and seems to be interested. Like, she has that woman's sixth sense where it's like, I know you're interested in me.
Well, it's that intuition. It's that intuition.
Yeah, but also in the last episode that we saw last week, and we absolutely loved it with the Pompadour, and that the Doctor chooses her over Rose. The girl in the fireplace was ready to abandon Rose and Mickey to save this other woman, and that he was completely captivated by it. So it's like, I don't know if the Doctor is just like hardcore playing everybody.
Maybe that's the case.
But he seems to be leading on every woman that he encounters. Or is it just me?
Oh God. Okay. In the chat right now. Matthew Thompson. He's trolling us. Hey, so Joe said that Ashley from Power Rangers was originally named Missy. Fan theory. She is actually Missy from Doctor Who in a new body.
You know, we've seen Missy, the Master, whatever you want to call her, in all kinds of different forms. I accept that. Let's write some fanfic about Missy. I'm
interested. I'm interested, but the only problem is Missy did die. Like, die, right?
You know, there's a lot of continuity errors in Doctor Who. Anyone that dies does get brought back,
Wibbly
and anyone
wobbly.
that leaves does randomly show up. What's up, Anthony Manzano?
Hey, he's saying hello to us, and I definitely appreciate it. I love when he does say hello.
Donnie Pearson's in here again.
Hey, shout out to you, Donnie Pearson. Edward Sanchez, and he actually says, I like Mickey better with Martha anyway.
It's true.
And I definitely agree. He found a great partner in Martha, someone who respected and, actually appreciated things about him. So,
unlike Rose, who really only appreciates herself and only has her own self-interest the forefront of her mind.
Oh my God.
I don't know. This it was kind of an interesting episode. I like the idea of the homeless people being upgraded, because you're not going to notice the homeless people.
You're not.
And they care about it. It's their own kind of society where it's like, hey, this truck, whatever it is, comes by fairly frequently, and people don't come back out. They're offering you free food. Don't be a fool. Come on. And I kind of feel like that is a societal thing where it's target the homeless people first, because no one's gonna notice if they go missing. No one's gonna
notice it, and that's true. And then also using the earpieces.
Yes.
For ways to go ahead and convert people, because it's the newest technology, which is something that we always fall faulty to. People always love, is it the newest technology? I need it. I gotta copy. I mean, funny enough, if you look at those, last time I checked, everyone's digging the iPhone AirPods.
Yep.
Those EarPods.
We're all going to be Cybermen. You heard it here first. Stay tuned for we're all going to be upgraded.
That's it. And that looks like a wireless Bluetooth. That's exactly what that looks like. Right now, those wireless, those speaker wireless Bluetooth speaker ones that people wear, that's exactly what she looks like she's wearing on her head right now.
I actually really like that as a really easy Doctor Who costume. If you ever go to Gallifrey 1, that's in February here in Los Angeles. I feel like if you want to cosplay, that's a super easy thing to do, and I feel like it's easily recognizable.
Blue lights.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
you just
man.
get straws. Although you can't get them for free anymore because we banned straws here in California. So if you have access to straws and a little like LED light, you can easily be any kind of pre-Cyberman. I
guess.
Right before the transformation.
That's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like that actually, and doing it using
kind of
straws
fun, right?
would be smart.
It's kind of a fun thing.
Oh my god! Okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna actually do it with straws though, and then have a blue light. That's all.
Man.
A blue LED. Hitting over there, perfectly fine.
100% down with that.
I would go for it. But ultimately, with this being our first introduction to the Cybermen, knowing everything else that we do know about them,
but knowing nothing, I feel like when I originally saw this,
okay.
I didn't have the sense of foreboding that you should being like a Whovian, because I didn't watch any of the originals.
Exactly.
When I watched this.
Right.
This was my first introduction to the Cybermen ever, and honestly, like with this first part, I was kind of like, all right. It didn't hit me like the Daleks did.
No.
The Daleks, even though like they kind of have a ridiculous costume, and I feel like the Cybermen have a better look to them.
Yes.
Overall theming and everything. It was a little lackluster for me, if I'm being honest.
It was, and that was the thing that, it sucks because the Cybermen are so iconic. You know, it's so important when it comes to being villains.
When we get into the second
Who.
part of this episode next week, I feel like we will get a better sense of who the Cybermen are, because everything that we hear about them is from actual humans. They're like, hey, we have this thing, people are going missing, and it builds up the suspense.
It does.
But actually seeing them, I was like, oh, they're just robots.
At first, that's it. It just like it was lost on me as far as the fear, the intimidation, how dangerous they actually are. Yes. I was like, they're just slow moving robots. What does it matter? This is not something that you care about. And then of course we'll have the next episode, and you figure out like, oh no. They're wiring themselves into the human body, which we did find out on this episode. But it's just when you really get the whole kind of structure that they're building, essentially,
yes.
it kind of changes everything concerning how you do fear them. And you start to learn that, okay, they're definitely a force to be feared.
Yeah.
But it's just, for an introduction, honestly, lackluster.
It was okay.
Really
I mean, I have more fond memories, like, in hindsight about this episode than when I first watched it. Watching it back, I was like, oh, okay. I think it's because Rose and Mickey are incredibly distracting, and I don't like their characters, and I don't like the writing for their characters so much that becomes the focus, and it's always negative for me, especially in this. The one positive thing I have to say is, like, you know what? I did not know Ricky was ripped, and I was like,
oh
dang,
god,
oh
Mickey? Man, yeah, you look at him and you think, you look at him at first, and you're like, oh, he's skinny fat, right? Like, you know, he's got a doughy or something, you know, and then
especially they give him the personality of like being, you know, kind of a coward and not really like working out and not taking care of himself, and he's always just chasing Rose, and that's his main thing. But Rose is on vacation. This fool is definitely hitting the gym.
Seriously,
I hate to objectify him, but you know. A whole lot of positive things I have to say about this particular episode.
We're giving him a compliment on how much we notice the work that he's done. You know? That's all I'm saying. Oh, Rose's mom,
her
dude,
cleavage.
okay.
Our producer was hooked on Jackie in this particular episode, her being super fancy. And, like, because in this particular universe, she did not have Rose, so she was able to keep her womanly figure.
Yes, that's right.
I like the clothes, kind of, you know, lifts and pushes together.
She's a good 40. She's a good 40 because she says on this episode, like, the happy 40th birthday, and
but
she's
39,
all upset.
39, excuse you.
39, I'm sorry. Pardon me.
In this parallel universe, I have to say that I like Rose 1,000% more than human Rose. Little puppy Rose immediately won me over. Absolutely adore her.
Puppy Rose is possibly one of the cutest things ever.
Yeah.
And I'm completely down for Puppy Rose and seeing her every minute of my life.
Yes. So in the second part, my biggest wish is to see more Puppy Rose, a little more shirtless Mickey, and hopefully, like, actually instilling fear with the Cybermen into the audience. I feel like we don't get a really big comprehension of what is to come, but we'll talk about it next week on YouTube at 6 o'clock, give or take, depending how long the Retro Ranger wrap-up lasts and how many technical issues we have.
Or if Joe happens to show up and kind of railroad the show.
Yeah.
So we'll see according to that. But with that, I think we've broken down the episode enough. We gave enough insight in breaking down exactly what we did like, what we didn't like, what we did notice, and what was interesting. What do you think you would give this episode as far as the score?
Honestly, this one, because I know it's building up to something on its own, I want to say I only give it a 2. It's just kind of mediocre. Rose and Mickey, Mickey does get a little more development. We learn about how his mom passed away and dad, kind of abandoned him, which makes him a little more sympathetic, which is why he wants to go see his grand so bad. It makes sense. Rose's story was a little bit weak, but seems like there's some big bads and a lot of people orchestrating, so it does give me a lot of hype for next week. So I give it a 2. Lower ranks.
Okay,
But,
all right.
it's not bad. It's not a bad episode compared to some of the other ones that we've had to watch.
Oh my God, yes, that's true. Very true. It wasn't bad. It wasn't like pulling teeth. Since I know what's coming, I guess I just anticipated so much. But really trying to just put myself in the kind of view of, let's say I've never seen it before.
Yeah.
I don't know what's coming up. Just seeing that alone, they didn't do much to wow me. They didn't do much to really turn me on to being like, oh wow, I need to see much more. Honestly, trying to do it from that view, it would have been like, maybe I don't want to watch part 2. It would have felt like that. But the last 5 minutes, when they're all running around trying to run from one end to the other, and then here comes a wall of them, and everything starts to build up, and you're like, oh my gosh, this may be the last moment for this doctor. He may be, so that's where it was like, okay, that was cool. So bringing it from a 0 to a 1, it's hitting at a 2. So right. I like it too.
We're
That's
solid
it.
2 in this
That's
one.
what we're getting.
If you guys are sci-fi fans, we are actually kind of working on something in that genre, something called Cosmic Protectors. It's a Power Ranger motion comic / audio drama that we have been working on. If you have any questions about it, check out our Instagram. Our Facebook page is having some issues right now, but we also have a Patreon if you want to support us. Even $1 goes miles and miles. This is a self-funded project, and like anything that we can get, we bought a mic for we bought a mic for proper audio. Yeah, exactly. And we would love to get another mic. We would love to get mic stands. We would love to be able to like produce prints and everything else for you guys. If you get a chance, share that out. Patreon.com/Cosmic Protectors.
And the great thing about this is, even if we don't reach our goal when it comes to Patreon,
we're putting our own money into it.
It doesn't stop us. We're still making sure that this project goes out. It's for the fans, from fans to fans. So we want to make sure it still comes out great for you guys. So check it out over there at patreon.com/Cosmic Protectors. You can also go to the Instagram, which is simply Cosmic Protectors on Instagram, and check it out. See if you want to go ahead and try to help us out with it. And until then, you can see us here next week, usually at 6 p.m.
Around 6 p.m., give or take. We'll be talking more Doctor Who and the second part of this episode. We'll see how the Cybermen
Age of Silver, I think. Yeah, that's right. So until then, I am Daniel, a.k.a. Battlestar Galactica. That's where you can find me on Instagram, and you are.
I'm Elsie. You can find me on Instagram. And until then, you could like, comment, share, and subscribe to stay up to date with everything trending
in geek pop culture.
Bye, guys.